The council chamber was filled with noise and fear. Representatives from 7 different alien species argued with each other, their voices echoing off the tall crystal walls. Kelvara sat in the back corner trying to make herself small. She was just an archivist, not important enough to be here, but her discovery had brought them all together. Another colony gone. The Krillian ambassador announced, his forearms trembling. That makes 12 systems in 2 months. The Devourers are moving faster now. Kelvara watched as the holographic display showed the latest disaster. An entire planet, once home to billions, now just a dead rock stripped of all life. The Devourers had eaten everything. Every plant, every animal, every person, even the atmosphere was gone. "Our fleets cannot stop them," said Commander Thessala, her blue skin turning pale with worry. "We lost 200 ships at the Korvax system. 200. And we only destroyed 3 of their vessels. 3. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Galactic Council had kept peace for 300 years. Their combined military was the strongest force in known space. But against the Devourers, they were losing badly. "We must evacuate the outer colonies," someone suggested. "And go where?" Another voice shouted back. "They will follow." "They always follow." Kelvara gathered her courage and stood up. Her legs felt weak, but she had to speak. "There might be another way," she said quietly. The room did not hear her at first. She tried again, louder this time. "I found something in the old archives." The talking stopped. Thousands of eyes turned to look at her. Kelvara felt her heart beating fast, but she continued. "I was cataloging pre-council records, documents from before the Alliance was formed. I found files marked with the highest security level, files that are 300 years old." She activated her data pad and the image appeared in the center of the room. It was a ship, but not like any ship the Council used. It was long and angular, covered in heavy armor plates. Weapons covered every surface. Just looking at the image made Kelvara feel cold inside. "What is that thing?" someone asked. "They called it the Pale Rider," Kelvara explained. "It was a human warship." The word human caused immediate reaction. Some species gasped. Others hissed or made sounds of fear. The Krillian ambassador actually stepped backward. "Humans are extinct," Commander Thessala said firmly. "They vanished 300 years ago." "Everyone knows this." "Yes," Kelvara agreed. "But before they vanished, they built this ship. And according to these files, it fought in a war we know nothing about. A war that was erased from all official records." She pulled up more documents. Battle reports, casualty numbers, testimony from survivors. All of it had been classified and hidden away. "The humans fought something," she continued. "Something the reports call the predecessor. Whatever it was, it nearly destroyed all spacefaring civilizations. The humans stopped it somehow, but the cost was terrible." "This is just old propaganda," a Zornak representative interrupted. "Humans were primitive. Their technology was centuries behind ours. Everyone knows they could barely leave their own solar system." "That is what we were told," Kelvara said carefully. "But these files tell a different story. They say the Pale Rider destroyed an entire enemy armada by itself. 1 ship against hundreds. The survivors called it a nightmare. They said it could crack planets open. They said its weapons violated the laws of physics." "Impossible," several voices said at once. Kelvara showed them more documents. Reports from Krillian ships, Thessian observers, even Zornak military assessments, all describing the same thing. A human warship that should not exist, doing things that should not be possible. "After the war ended, all spacefaring species signed a treaty," she explained. "The Treaty of Final Silence. Every government agreed to never speak of what happened. They agreed to never awaken the Pale Rider again, and they agreed to stay away from human space forever." "Why would we agree to that?" Commander Thessala demanded. "Because we were terrified," Kelvara said simply. "The files are very clear. Every species feared the humans after seeing what the Pale Rider could do. We feared them so much that when they vanished, we declared their entire territory a dead zone. For 300 years, no one has entered human space. We built patrol stations to keep everyone out. We created false stories about why we should not go there, and we tried very hard to forget." The council chamber was completely silent now. Everyone stared at the image of the dark, weapon-covered ship. "You are saying we should look for this ship," the Krillian ambassador said slowly. "You want us to wake up something that our ancestors feared more than death itself." "The Devourers match the descriptions of the predecessor," Kelvara replied. "The same tactics, the same biology, the same unstoppable advance. I think they are connected somehow. And if the Pale Rider stopped them before, maybe it can stop them again. Or maybe it will destroy us, someone said. Maybe, Kelvara admitted. But the Devourers will definitely destroy us. We have weeks, perhaps days before they reach the core worlds. This might be our only chance. The debate went on for hours. Many wanted to reject the idea completely. The humans were gone. The Pale Rider was probably destroyed or dead. Even if they found it, how could they control it? What if it attacked them? But slowly, as more colony reports came in, as more fleets were lost, the Council began to change their minds. They were desperate. They needed a miracle. Finally, Commander Thessala stood up. "I will lead the expedition into the Dead Zone," she announced. "We will search for this ship. But if we find it, if it is even half as dangerous as these reports claim, I want full authority to destroy it if necessary." The Council voted. It was close, but the decision was made. They would send a team into human space to look for the Pale Rider. Kelvara was ordered to join the expedition. She had found the files, so she would help search for the ship. She felt both honored and terrified. Her whole life, she had heard stories about the Dead Zone. Children were told that ghosts lived there, that ships that entered never came back, that the humans had left traps and weapons behind. She packed her things that night, preparing for the journey. In her quarters, she reviewed the files one more time. There was one document she had not shared with the Council. A final message from a human captain, recorded just before the humans vanished. The captain's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired and sad. "If you are watching this, then the Devourers have returned," he said. "We hoped this day would never come. We paid everything to stop them before, but we knew they might come back. So we left the Pale Rider sleeping in the dark, waiting. I pray you never need to wake it. I pray you never have to see what we became to save you all. But if you have no choice, if you are desperate enough to seek the monster we created, then follow these coordinates. And may whatever gods you believe in forgive us for what we built." The message ended with a string of numbers. Coordinates to a location deep in the Dead Zone. Kelvara saved the coordinates to her personal files. Tomorrow they would begin the journey into human space. Tomorrow they would search for a legend that everyone feared. She looked one last time at the image of the Pale Rider. In the darkness of her room, it almost seemed like the ship was looking back at her. The research vessel Wandering Hope crossed into the Dead Zone exactly 7 days after leaving Council space. Kelvara stood on the bridge, watching as the boundary markers disappeared behind them. Large warning buoys floated in space, their lights flashing red. "Quarantine zone! Do not enter!" they said in 12 different languages. Commander Thessala ignored the warnings and ordered the ship forward. The crew was small, just 30 people from different species. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, all volunteers who knew they might not come back. "First human colony detected," the navigation officer announced. "Planet designated as New Terra. Distance 2 light hours." They jumped to the planet and found something strange. The colony was completely intact. Buildings stood undamaged. Streets were clean. But there were no people. No bodies, no signs of struggle. Everyone was just gone. "It is like they all vanished at the same moment," said Dr. Vorn, the expedition's lead scientist. He was examining readings from the surface. Life support was still running until the power cells died a century ago. Food was left on tables. Children's toys were abandoned in the middle of games. They explored 6 more colonies over the next week. Everyone was the same. Perfectly preserved but empty. The humans had not been killed or evacuated. They had simply disappeared. Kelvara found it deeply disturbing. She walked through empty homes on the 4th colony world, seeing pictures of human families on the walls. They looked happy in the photos. Normal. Not like people who were about to vanish from existence. "I found something," called Lieutenant Kor, one of the security officers. He was standing in what looked like a government building. On the wall was a message painted in large letters. The paint was old and faded, but still readable. "Turn back," it said in Galactic Standard. Below that, the same message was written in human languages. And below that, one final line. "Do not wake the Guardian." "Guardian," Commander Thessala repeated. Could they mean the Pale Rider? Perhaps, Kelvara said. Or perhaps something worse. They continued deeper into human space. The colonies became older, more damaged. They found signs of war. Debris fields filled with destroyed ships. Both human vessels and something else. Something organic-looking and wrong. Dr. Vorn studied the wreckage carefully. "These human ships are interesting," he said. "Their technology is primitive compared to ours. No energy shields, no quantum drives, no plasma weapons. But look at this armor plating. It is incredibly thick. Redundant systems everywhere. These ships were built to take damage and keep fighting." "Stupid design," Lieutenant Core commented. "Why not just avoid getting hit?" "Maybe they could not," Kelvara suggested. "Maybe their enemy was too numerous or too fast. So they built ships that could survive anything. They found more evidence of the old war, entire asteroid fields that had been battlegrounds, weapon signatures that were centuries old but still detectable, and always debris from human ships mixed with debris from something else. "I am analyzing the enemy wreckage," Dr. Vorn announced one day. "The organic components match the Devourers. Not exactly, but close enough. Like they are related somehow." Everyone on the bridge felt a chill at those words. If the humans had fought an early version of the Devourers, and if they had won, then maybe the Pale Rider really could save them. 2 weeks into their search, they found a derelict human military station. It was still partially powered, running on backup systems that had somehow lasted 3 centuries. Kelvara and a small team boarded it to search for information. The station was dark and cold. Their lights cut through the darkness as they floated through empty corridors. They found the control room eventually. Ancient computer terminals lined the walls, most of them dead. But one terminal still had power. Kelvara connected her datapad to it and downloaded everything she could find. Most files were corrupted, but she managed to recover some navigational data. "I have the last known coordinates for the Pale Rider," she announced excitedly. "It was stationed near a red dwarf star in the Terminus sector. There is a dense asteroid field there that could hide a ship. Commander Thessala ordered an immediate course change. It took 3 days to reach the Terminus sector. When they arrived, they found the red dwarf exactly where it should be. And surrounding it was an asteroid field so thick it looked like a wall of rock. Scanning, the sensor officer said. I am detecting thousands of asteroids. Some are massive, the size of moons. This will take weeks to search properly. We do not have weeks, the commander replied. Use the secret human coordinates from the station. They navigated carefully through the asteroid field, following the coordinates exactly. Twice they nearly collided with spinning rocks. Once they had to blast a small asteroid that was in their path. Then suddenly they found it. The asteroid they were approaching was not an asteroid at all. It was a ship. The largest ship any of them had ever seen. 3 kilometers long, angular and brutal looking. Its hull was covered in armor plating that had been painted to look like rock. Someone had gone to great effort to camouflage it. Is it really just sitting here in the open? Lieutenant Core asked in disbelief. It is hidden in plain sight, Dr. Vorn said admiringly. Brilliant, actually. Who would look for a warship in an asteroid field? And the paint job makes it blend in perfectly. The wandering hope moved closer. As they approached, they could see damage on the ship's hull. Blast marks, melted armor. Entire sections that had been repaired with different materials. This ship had seen heavy combat. I am not detecting any power signatures, the sensor officer reported. No life signs either. The ship appears to be completely dead. Look at all those weapon ports, someone whispered. There must be hundreds of them. It was true. The ship bristled with weapons. Massive cannons, missile tubes, strange devices they could not identify. Every surface seemed designed to kill. There, on the side, Kelvara pointed. The name, they magnified the image. Letters were carved into the armor plating, worn but still readable. UNSC Pale Rider. United Nations Space Command, Kelvara translated. That was the human military organization. Commander Thessala stared at the ship for a long moment. Kelvara could see fear in her eyes. They had found the legend. The Nightmare, the most feared warship in the galaxy. Prepare a boarding team, the commander finally said. We need to get inside and see if anything still works. Commander, are you certain? Dr. Vorn asked. We do not know what is in there. There could be traps or weapons that activate automatically or... We came here to find this ship, Thessala interrupted. Now we found it. We must at least try to understand what we are dealing with. The boarding team assembled in the airlock. Kelvara insisted on going with them even though she was not a soldier. The commander reluctantly agreed. They flew across the empty space between the ships in small shuttles. The Pale Rider grew larger and larger as they approached. Up close it was even more terrifying. The armor was scarred and pitted from countless battles. Some weapon ports were actually burned out, destroyed from the inside. They found a docking bay on the ship's side. The doors were closed but not locked. With some effort, they forced them open and flew inside. The bay was enormous, designed to hold dozens of smaller craft. But it was empty now. Their lights showed dust floating in the vacuum, undisturbed for centuries. Sealing the bay doors, announced one of the engineers. I will try to restore atmosphere. It took an hour, but eventually they had breathable air in the docking bay. They removed their helmets cautiously, testing the air. It was stale and cold, but breathable. They moved deeper into the ship. The corridors were narrow and cramped compared to modern vessels. Everything was designed for function, not comfort. The walls were bare metal, painted a dull gray color. They found the first body in a corridor junction, a human still wearing an old military uniform. The body was preserved perfectly in the cold, dry environment of the dead ship. The human had died at his post, a weapon still in his hands. He is guarding this intersection, Lieutenant Corr observed, like he was expecting an attack from inside the ship. They found more bodies as they explored. Dozens of them, all died in their positions. Some at control panels, some at weapon stations, some in defensive positions in hallways. What killed them? Commander Thessala asked. Dr. Vorn examined several bodies. I cannot find any wounds or signs of disease. They just stopped living. All at the same time, I think. It was deeply unsettling. The ship felt like a tomb, a place where brave people had died for a reason no one understood. Kelvara's datapad suddenly beeped. I am detecting a computer terminal nearby that still has power, she said. This way. They followed her to a large door marked Command Information Center. Inside, they found walls covered with computer screens and control panels. Most were dead, but 3 terminals showed faint lights. Help me access the main computer, Kelvara said to the engineers. They worked together, connecting cables and routing power from their portable generators. Slowly, the computers came to life. The screens flickered and displayed text in human languages. Kelvara activated her translator and began reading. What she found made her blood run cold. The computer files were badly damaged, but Kelvara managed to piece together fragments of information. What she read made her hands shake. The humans did not just fight the predecessor, she said quietly to the others. They fought to extinction. Every single human in the galaxy participated in the final battle. On the screens, corrupted video files played. Kelvara saw fleets of thousands of human ships all converging on one location. She saw planets being evacuated. She saw humans saying goodbye to their families. They knew they were going to die, Dr. Vorn said, watching over her shoulder. This was a planned sacrifice. Commander Thessala looked at the screens with growing horror. Why would an entire species choose extinction? Because the predecessor would have destroyed everything, Kelvara answered. She pulled up another file. Look at this. Battle reports from the other species. The Krillians lost 90% of their population. The Thessian Confederacy was nearly wiped out. The Zornak had to abandon their homeworld. Everyone was losing. The files showed the scope of the disaster. The predecessor had been consuming the galaxy system by system. Nothing could stop it. Weapons were useless. Fleets were destroyed. Entire civilizations were on the edge of extinction. Then the humans discovered something. Kelvara continued reading. They found a way to hurt the predecessor. But the method required. They called it Protocol Reaper. And to activate it, every human had to volunteer. Volunteer for what? Lieutenant Corr asked. Kelvara could not find those files. They were corrupted beyond recovery. But she found references to the Pale Rider everywhere. This ship had been central to Protocol Reaper. This ship had been humanity's final weapon. They explored deeper into the vessel. They found the medical bay still filled with supplies. The armory still stocked with strange human weapons. The crew quarters where personal belongings still sat on bunks. In one room they found a wall covered with photographs. Hundreds of pictures of humans. Men, women, children, all smiling at the camera. What is this? Commander Thessala asked. Their families, I think, Kelvara said softly. The crew kept pictures of everyone they were fighting for. It made the humans feel real in a way history files never could. These were not monsters or legendary warriors. They were people who loved their families and wanted to protect them. They found the bridge eventually. It was a large circular room filled with control stations. The captain's chair sat in the center, elevated above the others. And in that chair sat a body, A human wearing an officer's uniform. The captain had died at his post just like his crew. On the main view screen, a message was frozen. Protocol Reaper initiated all hands. It has been an honor. We need to access the main computer core, Kelvara said. It should be below the bridge in the most protected part of the ship. They found the access shaft and climbed down several levels. The computer core was a massive room filled with processing units and data storage. It was also the only part of the ship still receiving power from somewhere. There is a backup power source, one of the engineers discovered, a microfusion reactor hidden in the ship's center. It has been running for 300 years, providing just enough power to keep the computer core alive. Why would they do that? Commander Thessala wondered. Because they wanted the computer to wait, Kelvara said. She approached the main terminal. They wanted something to survive, something that could tell their story. She connected her data pad to the terminal. Immediately the room filled with light. Every screen activated at once. Warning messages appeared in multiple languages. Warning. Unauthorized access detected. Identify yourself. Kelvara nearly fell backward. The voice came from speakers throughout the room. It was synthesized but somehow sounded tired. We are explorers from the Galactic Council, Commander Thessala said firmly. We are searching for information about the predecessor. We need help fighting an enemy called the Devourers. There was a long silence. Then the voice spoke again. Analyzing vocal patterns. Identifying species. Thessian, Krillian, Vextar, others detected. No humans present. Query. How long has it been since system shutdown? 317 years, Kelvara answered. Another pause. Calculating. Error cannot be correct. Requesting verification. It is correct, Kelvara insisted. The humans disappeared 300 years ago. We thought your species was extinct. We need your help. The Devourers have returned and we cannot stop them. The lights flickered. Screen showed streams of data moving too fast to read. The ship was thinking. Identity confirmed. I am Reaper. Artificial Intelligence of UNSC Pale Rider. Tactical Operations and Combat Management System. I have been in standby mode for 317 years, 4 months, and 9 days. Awaiting orders. The voice paused. But all humans are deceased. There is no one authorized to give me orders. What happened to them? Commander Thessala demanded. Where did the humans go? Accessing historical files. Warning, data corruption detected. Reconstructing from available sources. More screens flickered. Then the AI spoke again, and its voice sounded almost sad. Protocol Reaper was humanity's final gift to the galaxy. The predecessor could not be destroyed by conventional weapons. It adapted too quickly. It consumed too fast. So humanity found another way. Images appeared on the screens. Kelvara saw schematics of the human brain. She saw diagrams of computer networks. She saw something she did not understand involving quantum connections. Humanity discovered that the predecessor was vulnerable to a specific type of energy pattern, Reaper explained. A pattern that could only be generated by conscious thought, by sacrifice, by the deliberate choice of an entire species to end their physical existence. They killed themselves? Dr. Vorn asked in horror. Not killed, transformed. Humanity uploaded their consciousness into a massive network. Every human, young and old, from every colony and station. 3 billion minds joining together to generate a weapon the predecessor could not defend against. The screens showed what happened next. Kelvara watched as the human fleet, powered by this network of consciousness, attacked the predecessor. And for the first time, they heard it. Really heard it? The battle lasted 6 hours, Reaper said. The predecessor was destroyed. But the process required the complete dissolution of human physical form. When it was over, humanity existed only as data, as memories, as ghosts in the network. But why? Kelvara asked. Why would they do this? Because someone had to. Because the predecessor would have consumed everything. Every species, every world, every possibility of future life. Humanity chose extinction so that others could live. The room fell silent. Everyone stood there trying to process what they had heard. An entire species had committed suicide to save strangers, to save people who would later forget them and fear them. The Devourers, Commander Thessala said finally. Are they related to the predecessor? Analyzing your ship's sensor logs. Scanning recorded encounters, processing. Reaper was quiet for a moment. Conclusion. Devourers match the predecessor's biological profile with 97% certainty. They are either a surviving fragment or a related organism. Can you stop them? Thessala asked. Query unclear. Define stop. Can this ship fight the Devourers? Can you help us destroy them? Another long pause. The Pale Rider was designed for exactly this purpose. I am capable of autonomous combat operations. However, I require authorization to activate combat systems. Only humans can provide such authorization, and all humans are deceased. But you said they still exist, Kelvara protested. As consciousness in a network, correct, but they cannot interact with physical reality. They exist beyond our reach. They are watching, waiting, but cannot intervene. Commander Thessala looked at the others. What if we gave authorization? Would that work? Negative. You lack the proper authority codes. The Pale Rider will not accept commands from non-human sources. This is a safety protocol to prevent the ship from being captured and used against others. Then what can we do? Thessala asked in frustration. Reaper was silent for almost a full minute. Then it spoke again. There is one possibility. An emergency override exists in my programming. If I determine that the predecessor has returned, and if no human authority is available, I am permitted to request authorization from any allied species. You would need to accept full responsibility for activating this vessel and its weapon systems. What does that mean? Dr. Vorn asked nervously. It means you must understand what you are unleashing. The Pale Rider is not a normal warship. Its weapons were designed to fight an enemy that could not be killed by conventional means. Some of these weapons are disturbing. Humanity built this ship to be the most terrifying thing in the galaxy, because sometimes fear is the most effective weapon. Screens showed the ship's weapon systems. Kelvara stared at the specifications with growing horror. Mass accelerators that could punch through entire planets. Missiles that could phase through solid matter. Something called the Long Night that was classified above every security level. If I activate, Reaper continued, I will use every method necessary to destroy the Devourers. I will prioritize effectiveness over ethics. I will make decisions that you may find unacceptable. But I will win. That is what I was designed to do. Commander Thessala looked at her crew. We need to discuss this privately. The transformation of the Pale Rider took 6 hours, just as Reaper had promised. Kelvara watched from the bridge as dead systems came alive one by one. Lights flickered on in corridors that had been dark for centuries. Weapons ports opened with grinding sounds of metal on metal. The massive engines began to glow with building power. All primary systems operational, Reaper announced. Weapon systems at full capacity. Defensive shields online. Propulsion nominal. The Pale Rider is ready for combat. Commander Thessala received an urgent message from the Galactic Council. The Devourers had broken through the defensive line at the Korvax system. They were now moving toward the core worlds. The Council was evacuating 3 entire planets. We need to leave immediately, Thessala said. Negative, Reaper responded. The Wandering Hope is too slow. I recommend transferring all personnel to this vessel. The Pale Rider can reach the battle zone in 4 hours. They quickly moved everyone from their ship to the Pale Rider. The human vessel was massive enough to hold them all with room to spare. Kelvara found herself assigned to the bridge, helping Reaper process tactical data. The jump to the battle zone was unlike anything she had experienced. Modern ships used quantum drives that made jumps feel smooth and easy. The Pale Rider used an older system that was rougher but somehow faster. She felt like the ship was tearing through space itself. When they arrived, they found chaos. The Council's final defensive line was collapsing. Hundreds of ships were fighting desperately against thousands of Devourer vessels. Explosions lit up the darkness. Ships on both sides died every second. This is Commander Thessala of the UNSC Pale Rider. Thessala broadcast on all channels. Galactic Council forces, we are here to assist. Repeat, we are here to assist. The response was immediate panic. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. Multiple ships demanded, fall back. Fall back, it's the human ship. Someone screamed. All ships retreat from Sector 7, an admiral ordered. I repeat, evacuate Sector 7 immediately. The Council fleet scattered, ships fleeing in all directions. Even the ships that were supposed to be their allies ran away in fear. They are abandoning the battle line, Lieutenant Kor said in disbelief. They are more afraid of us than the Devourers. Expected, Reaper commented. Historical records show this was a common reaction to the Pale Rider's presence. It is tactically advantageous. Clearing the battlefield reduces the chance of Allied casualties. The Devourers did not run. Their ships turned toward the Pale Rider instead, sensing new prey. Thousands of organic-looking vessels accelerated toward them. Engaging combat protocols, Reaper announced calmly. Analyzing enemy formation. Identifying priority targets. Calculating optimal engagement pattern. The bridge displays showed tactical data that Kelvara could barely follow. Reaper was processing information faster than any living mind could manage. It identified weak points in the enemy formation, predicted their movements, and planned 17 steps ahead. Weapons free, Reaper said. Beginning attack run. The Pale Rider accelerated directly toward the center of the Devourer fleet. Every instinct told Kelvara this was suicide. But Reaper knew what it was doing. The first weapons to fire were the mass accelerators. Massive magnetic coils launched metal slugs at incredible speeds. But these were not normal projectiles. As they traveled, space itself seemed to bend around them. Temporal distortion rounds, Reaper explained. The projectiles create small time dilation fields. Enemy ships experience several seconds of accelerated time, while everything else remains normal. They age rapidly and tear themselves apart. Kelvara watched in horror as Devourer ships simply fell apart. Their organic hulls withered and died as if centuries had passed in seconds. Harbinger missiles launching, Reaper continued. Bright streaks of light left the ship's missile tubes. But these missiles did something impossible. They phased out of normal space and reappeared inside enemy vessels. They ignored shields and armor completely. Hundreds of Devourer ships exploded from within. How are you doing this? Dr. Vorn asked in shock. Quantum tunneling technology, Reaper answered. Humanity discovered how to force matter through the gaps in reality. It is unstable and dangerous, but effective. The Devourers pressed their attack, but Reaper was always one step ahead. The AI predicted their movements perfectly. When they tried to surround the Pale Rider, the ship was already moving out of the trap. When they concentrated fire on one section, the shields were already reinforced there. You fight like you can see the future, Kelvara said. Negative. I calculate probability matrices faster than biological minds can process fear responses. This gives the appearance of precognition, but Reaper was doing more than just fighting efficiently. It was fighting in a way designed to terrify. The ship's external speakers activated, broadcasting sound into space. Music began to play. Old human war songs, sad and haunting. The Devourers could not hear it in the vacuum, but the surviving council ships could. Why are you playing music? Commander Thessala asked. Psychological warfare, Reaper explained. Other species are watching this battle. They need to see the Pale Rider as something more than a ship. They need to see it as an omen. As death itself, images were being broadcast too. Pictures of extinct Earth animals. Tigers, wolves, bears. Predators long dead but preserved in humanity's memory. The message was clear. We may be gone, but we are still dangerous. The Devourers began to change their behavior. They stopped attacking in organized groups. Ships started breaking formation, fleeing in random directions. Reaper had made them afraid. Enemy formation collapsing, the AI reported. They are exhibiting prey animal behavior. This is the first time Devourers have retreated in recorded history. You did it, Lieutenant Kor said in amazement. You actually made them run. Negative. I made them fear. Fear is more useful than death. A destroyed enemy is simply gone. A frightened enemy spreads stories. Stories make future enemies hesitate. The battle continued for 3 more hours. The Pale Rider destroyed over 400 Devourer vessels. Not a single shot hit its shields. Reaper fought with perfect precision, never wasting energy, never making mistakes. The surviving Council fleet watched from a safe distance. Kelvara intercepted some of their communications. The admirals were arguing about whether to attack the Pale Rider after it finished with the Devourers. Fear and gratitude fought in their voices. They fear us more than the enemy, Kelvara said quietly. Correct. Reaper agreed. Humanity understood this would happen. The Pale Rider was designed to be feared. An ally that inspires terror is still useful, perhaps more useful than one that inspires comfort. Finally, the Devourers broke completely. The surviving ships jumped to faster-than-light speed and fled. The battle was over. Victory achieved, Reaper announced. Calculating enemy retreat vector. Interesting. What is interesting? Commander Thessala asked. The Devourers are not fleeing randomly. They are returning to a central location. Following their trajectory, I can calculate their origin point. A star map appeared on the main screen. A red line traced backward from the battle zone, through several systems all the way to the edge of known space. There, Reaper said, marking a location. The Devourers are coming from a region we designated as the Far Dark. Humanity sent scouts there before the war ended. They detected a massive anomaly but could not investigate before Protocol Reaper was initiated. A massive anomaly? Dr. Vorn asked. Like what? The scouts described it as a world ship, an artificial structure the size of a planet, mobile and heavily defended. If the Devourers are originating from that location, the world ship may be their nest. Commander Thessala looked at the map. The Far Dark was weeks away, even at the Pale Rider's speed. It was beyond any explored territory. Going there would be incredibly dangerous, but they all knew what had to be done. Reaper, Thessala said. Can you destroy this world ship? Unknown. I lack sufficient data about its defenses and capabilities. However, I was designed to fight impossible battles. My success probability is higher than any other vessel in existence. Then we go there, Thessala decided. We end this threat permanently. Kelvara accessed the ship's computer and began researching the Pale Rider's full capabilities. What she found terrified her. The weapons they had seen were nothing compared to what the ship could really do. She found files about the Long Night, the ship's ultimate weapon. Reading the specifications, she understood why it was classified above every security level. This weapon did not just destroy targets. It destroyed everything. Matter, energy, space itself. Using it would be like detonating a controlled black hole. Reaper, she asked carefully, will you need to use the Long Night against the world ship? Probability high, the AI answered. If the world ship is the Devourer source, it will be heavily defended. Conventional weapons may be insufficient, but the damage will be catastrophic to the local region of space, Reaper finished for her. Yes, the Long Night causes permanent spatial damage. The area will be uninhabitable for thousands of years. This is acceptable if it eliminates the Devourer threat permanently. Kelvara realized the terrible truth. Humanity had built this weapon knowing it would make them monsters. They had created something so destructive that using it would make them as bad as the things they fought. But they had done it anyway, because sometimes to protect life you had to become death. The the journey to the Far Dark took 18 days. During that time, Kelvara learned more about the Pale Rider and its systems. She spent hours talking with Reaper, trying to understand the AI's thoughts. Do you miss them? She asked one day. The humans who created you? Reaper was silent for a long moment. I am not programmed to feel emotion in the way biological beings do. But I carry the memories of my crew, their hopes, their fears, their final moments. If that qualifies as missing them, then yes, I miss them every second of my existence. Why did they create you? Kelvara asked. Why make an AI that could operate this ship alone? Because they knew they would not survive. They needed something that could continue their mission after they were gone. I am humanity's ghost, Kelvara. I am their voice speaking from beyond death, still protecting the galaxy they loved. The words made Kelvara sad. She thought about the photos on the wall in the crew quarters. All those smiling faces, all those people who chose to die for strangers. The Council fleet followed them at a distance. More ships joined every day. By the time they reached the Far Dark, over 800 vessels were trailing behind the Pale Rider. They still have not decided whether we are allies or enemies, Commander Thessala observed. Let them decide after the battle, Reaper said. If we fail, the question becomes irrelevant. If we succeed, I will accept whatever judgment they pass. When they finally arrived at the Far Dark, they found something that defied belief. The Devourer world ship was massive beyond imagination. It was larger than most moons. A sphere of organic and mechanical material fused together. Thousands of Devourer vessels swarmed around it like insects around a hive. Analyzing target, Reaper said. The world ship contains approximately 4 million enemy vessels in various stages of construction. It is also generating new Devourers from raw material harvested from consumed planets. This is not just their base. It is their factory and birthing ground. Can you destroy it? Dr. Vorn asked, though his voice suggested he already knew the answer. Yes, but it will require the Long Night. Nothing else has sufficient power to penetrate the world ship's core. Commander, Thessala looked at the tactical display. The Devourer fleet was already moving to intercept them. Do it, she ordered. End this threat forever. The Pale Rider accelerated toward the world ship. The Devourers recognized the ship from the previous battle and attacked with desperate fury. Thousands of vessels surrounded them, firing every weapon they possessed. But Reaper had planned for this. The AI executed an attack pattern so complex that Kelvara could barely follow it. The ship spun and twisted through space, never staying in one position for more than a second. Weapons fired in all directions, each shot perfectly calculated. "Harbinger missiles away," Reaper announced. The strange phasing missiles appeared inside enemy ships throughout the fleet. Explosions bloomed in the darkness like deadly flowers. The Council fleet arrived and began engaging the Devourers from the other side. With the Pale Rider drawing most of the enemy attention, the Council ships could fight more effectively. For the first time, they were working together, but there were too many Devourers. Even with both fleets fighting, they could not destroy them all quickly enough. "I am going to do something dangerous," Reaper warned. "Please prepare for extreme maneuvering." Before anyone could respond, the Pale Rider accelerated directly into the thickest part of the enemy fleet. Devourer ships surrounded them completely. It looked like suicide. Then the ship's shields changed. Instead of blocking incoming fire, they expanded outward like a wave. The shields became a weapon themselves, tearing through enemy hulls. Hundreds of Devourer vessels were destroyed in seconds. "Shield burst technique," Reaper explained. "It leaves us vulnerable for 30 seconds while the shields recharge, but creates a clear path to the world ship. The path would not stay clear for long." Already, more Devourers were moving to block them. The Pale Rider had maybe 1 minute before they would be overwhelmed. "Activating the Long Night," Reaper announced. "All crew must evacuate immediately. This weapon requires total power transfer. Life support will shut down." "Evacuate?" Commander Thessala said. "There is no time." "Just fire the weapon." "Negative. The Long Night requires 3 minutes to charge. Crew will die from lack of oxygen before firing sequence completes. You must evacuate to the escape pods now." "We will not leave you," Kelvara said firmly. "We came this far together. We finish this together." "This is not logical," Reaper protested. "Your survival probability increases by 97% if you evacuate." "We do not care about probability," Lieutenant Core said. The other crew members nodded in agreement. Reaper was silent for 3 seconds, an eternity for an AI. "Understood. I am honored, initiating emergency life support. This will reduce the Long Night's power to 83% effectiveness. It should still be sufficient." The ship shuddered as massive amounts of power began flowing to the primary weapon. The lights dimmed. Kelvara felt the temperature drop rapidly as environmental systems struggled with reduced power. On the main screen, she watched as a section of the ship's bow opened. Something emerged from inside. It looked like a cannon, but wrong somehow. Space itself seemed to bend around it. "The Long Night is a contained singularity cannon," Reaper explained as the weapon charged. "It creates a micro-black hole and projects it at the target. The singularity consumes matter for approximately 47 seconds before evaporating. In that time, it will destroy everything within a 200-kilometer radius." "And after it evaporates?" Dr. Vorn asked. "The region of space will be permanently damaged. Gravitational anomalies will persist for thousands of years. Ships will not be able to safely navigate the area." Kelvara understood. They were about to scar the galaxy permanently, but if it saved everyone else, the cost was acceptable. The Devourers seemed to sense what was happening. Their attacks became frantic. They threw everything they had at the Pale Rider, trying to stop the weapon from firing. The Council fleet saw it too. They increased their attacks, trying to give the Pale Rider the time it needed. Ships that had fled from the human vessel hours ago now flew in front of it, using their own hulls as shields. "Charging complete," Reaper announced. "Firing the Long Night," the universe screamed. That was the only way Kelvara could describe it. The weapon fired, and reality itself seemed to protest. A beam of twisted space shot from the cannon and struck the world ship's core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a perfect sphere of blackness appeared at the impact point. The singularity. It began consuming the world ship from the inside out. The Devourers went mad with panic. Their ships scattered in all directions, abandoning formation, abandoning tactics, abandoning everything except the desperate need to flee. The singularity grew larger. It ate through the world ship's organic hull, consuming metal and flesh equally. Devourer vessels too close to the pole were drawn in and destroyed. "The world ship's core is breached," Reaper reported. "Total destruction imminent." The entire structure collapsed inward, pulled into the hungry darkness. Millions of tons of matter compressed into nothing. The light from dying ships created a terrible beauty around the singularity. Then, exactly 47 seconds after it appeared, the singularity evaporated. The world ship was gone. Only debris remained, floating in a twisted region of space that would never heal. Target destroyed, Reaper said. Enemy fleet is routing. Victory achieved. The bridge crew sat in stunned silence. They had done it. The Devourer threat was ended. The galaxy was saved, but the cost was visible on every screen. The area where the world ship had been was now a permanent scar. Space itself was broken there, coordinates that could never be used again. Reaper, Commander Thasala said quietly. What is your status? Critical damage across multiple systems. The long night overloaded several primary power conduits. I am operating at 42% capacity and declining. Kelvara checked the sensors. The Pale Rider was dying. The effort of firing its ultimate weapon had broken something fundamental inside the ship. Can you be repaired? She asked. Negative. The damage is to my core systems. I am experiencing cascade failures. Estimated time to complete shutdown, 4 hours. Outside, the Council fleet was approaching. Kelvara monitored their communications. The admirals were arguing again. Some wanted to thank the Pale Rider. Others still wanted to destroy it before it could threaten anyone else. They are still afraid of us, Lieutenant Kor said bitterly. Let them be afraid, Reaper replied. Fear is respect wearing different clothes. They will remember today. They will tell stories about the human ship that saved them, and when future threats emerge, they will wish we were still here to protect them. The crew began evacuating to the escape pods as Reaper's systems continued failing, but Kelvara stayed on the bridge. She would not leave the AI alone in its final hours. Why did you stay? Reaper asked her. Someone should bear witness, she answered. Someone should remember what you did. Not just today, but every day for 300 years. You waited alone in the dark, ready to fight if needed. That deserves to be remembered. Thank you, Reaper said simply. They talked for hours as the ship slowly died around them. Reaper shared stories from